Good Mom and Monday. You're here at the Mistake Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandy.
And we are your hosts.
This week, we are going to be talking about something that might be a little strange. We did this before in our last podcast. Well, same podcast, but the first time around. Talking about what our life maybe could have been before, had we not have met our partners so young. We both got married fairly young. We got with our lifelong partners in high school. So, yeah. It was interesting before, so we thought we'd jump into it again and see if our ideas have changed from a year or so ago when we did this before.
Yep. If you are a listener who has been listening since we had the original podcast, this is the reboot. For those of you who were not listening the original podcast, we did it for a little over a year, and then we had to stop because of COVID, and we're now back with better equipment, and we now do the video portion of that if you are watching on YouTube. And we took down all of our original ones because the audio was horrid.
Subpar.
We were recording in our car.
Yeah.
On our phones.
Phone microphone.
And so we have the way better audio, which you can hear it. It's so much better.
Yes.
And so we're gonna readdressing some older topics every once in a while, and this is one of them. But first, our wins, our fails, and our books, if we have any updates.
Yes. I have a little fail update.
Okay.
So we had a dental appointment for Maverick yesterday. Maverick is a thumb sucker, and we've been trying to get him to stop. Well, yesterday, the dentist confirmed that he has a crossbite of 4 teeth, and so he's probably going to have to get a palatal spacer.
Oh.
When the dentist said between 6 and 7. If it hasn't corrected itself, he said there's a chance it could, but apparently it's 4 teeth that are crossed over. And so he said it's more of a slim chance that it will correct itself.
Oh.
And they said that they could do it as early as now, but a lot of, what are they called? I almost said optometrists, but that's not right.
I know what you're talking about. I don't have it. It's gone. Orthodontist,
thank you.
Okay.
Don't like to do it now because of, he said behavioral, so I'm assuming little kids are going to freak out.
I would imagine so, yeah.
So they said early intervention is best, but they tend to wait till about 6 or 7.
Okay. I mean, if it is something that's painful, I can understand.
Yeah, they can understand it a little bit more when they're a little older, maybe tolerate the pain a little bit more, kind of a thing.
Ugh, that sucks. Poor guy.
That's a fail. We've been trying to get him to stop, but if you cannot let your kid suck their thumb, just try not to.
Oh, poor Mav. Oh,
and Quincy now puts her thumb in her mouth and goes, blah. And I'm like, no. And Maverick's like, Michael's like, absolutely not. And I'm like, yeah, we don't need another one. So,
poor guy. That sucks.
I hate to call it a fail, but I feel like I failed him because I didn't stop him sooner, So.
You did what you could. And, some kids are thumb suckers, some were just not. My kids never were. And like you said, Quincy really isn't.
She's not. She does it playfully, but she doesn't actually suck on her thumb. She just puts it in her mouth and pops it out.
And then just Maverick happened to be one of the ones that is.
And he started young. He was like 5 or 6 months old when he started.
I remember that.
I think we even have an ultrasound picture of him.
He was just always the thumb one.
And he does it for comfort, so it's hard. They've suggested, like, if you notice certain times that he does it, like fear, hunger, try to just correct the actual base of the problem. Doesn't matter. He does it when he's tired. He does it when he's bored. He does it when he's hungry. He does it or not when he's hungry. Scratch that. He does it when he's just sitting on the couch.
I was going to say, I notice it when he's happy, sad.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
See it all the time.
Yeah. So it's just comfort for him. But yeah, so that was the information we got yesterday. That was just kind of like a downer.
I bet.
I'm hoping that it will just correct itself. But
then you'd have to get him to stop.
Yeah, so we ordered yesterday the like bitter stuff to put on your nails. And they suggested that we paint his whole thumb in it.
Okay.
We've tried like soaps hot sauces, hand sanitizer.
Have you tried vanilla?
He'll just lick it all off.
Oh, because I've heard vanilla works for some kids.
Haven't tried it.
Because it's bitter. That's
right.
Bleh.
Yeah. So hopefully this stuff will work. And they say that this stuff works a little bit better because it stays on longer than just like one lick off kind of a thing.
That makes sense.
We shall see. Poor buddy. He's having a hard time. Every time we remind him, he goes, oh, sorry, Mama.
Oh.
And I'm like, honey, I wish I could just let you, but it's affecting your teeth now. I'm not trying to shame him at all because I don't want it to be like a punishment thing, but it's like, you gotta stop, dude.
Oh, poor guy.
I'm trying to help you. So we're dealing with that. Other than that, his teeth were totally fine.
Great. Awesome.
No cavities, no anything there. And he loved the dentist because the one we go to, they watch a movie on the screen up above. So he just sat there watching Spider-Man the whole time.
Sorry, I didn't help.
It's okay.
Hey, that works.
Yeah. So yeah, there's my fail, and my win, I guess, would be that he didn't have any cavities. I don't know what else my win would be right now.
I mean, that works.
Yeah.
That works.
What about you?
My fail was that so on Saturday I edited the podcast. The one that was supposed to go out on this upcoming Monday. Not for you guys. This one was already posted at the time you're listening to this. But so I posted it, or I edited it, because the Sunday was my birthday.
Yes.
So if you were listening to last week's episode that was recorded on my birthday, I had edited the podcast that was coming out the next day. And I was like, okay, I need to upload it tonight. I didn't do that. Not intentionally. We ended up just getting sidetracked. And I ended up uploading not until the next morning, until it should have already been uploaded. I got a notification that Mandy's version, so the just audio that you guys get if you listen on like Spotify or wherever, was like uploaded like a normal notification because I follow our podcast. And I was like, shit. I was like, I was supposed to do that. So I hop on there super fast and get it uploaded. And I was like copy and pasting her description and throwing on my thumbnail and just getting it up there. And then it was like, upload time, 1 hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, fuck.
Let me sit here while that loads.
Yeah. So that was my fail.
It's okay. It was up. It was up on Monday.
It was up on Monday. Yes. I've never not gotten it up on the day that it was due.
Right.
But of the time wise, it's been late twice now.
Doesn't bother me. I don't know if it bothers you guys. Doesn't bother me. It's up. We did our job.
We were trying to get ahead. Thankfully, as far as recording goes, I think as of today,
we are officially ahead.
We are officially 4 weeks ahead.
Yes.
So when you're listening to this, we recorded this a month ago.
Right.
Now we just have to get ahead on editing.
Yeah.
Which is my goal for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. The reason we do that is not to be like just ahead for no reason. We do it because things come up. We're moms.
Yes.
She has 3. I have 2. Things come up.
Yep. COVID is what killed us before because we were not ahead.
Yeah.
We were literally recording and editing within a few days of when we wanted it posted. And that is what ended up destroying the podcast the first time around. And so when we were planning for it this time around, we were like, all right,
we need some in our back pocket.
Yes. And then with the holidays coming up, because as it goes right now, it is August 29th. My daughter starts school next week, and those holidays come up so fast.
Yeah.
Like we have just a few more episodes until we start decorating our setting for like Halloween and stuff.
Which doesn't seem out of place for you guys, but for us, it's like, well, that's 2 months from now.
Yeah.
Like we have time.
Exactly. And so we're planning ahead so that, come Thanksgiving and, all that entire area.
Chaos.
It's very chaotic, especially because
birthdays.
Birthdays.
Yeah.
Yes. During that time, we have 3 kiddos' birthdays? Just in between you and I, specifically. And then you have a couple friends who have birthdays too. And then your husband's birthday is right in there too. And our anniversary.
Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 birthdays throughout there.
There's so much going on between like October and the end of December.
Yeah.
that we just wanted to be fully ahead, and we're probably going to get even further ahead, is the plan to have maybe 2 more extra episodes in our pocket for that time. It's just chaotic.
Yeah. And we try not to make them sound out of place for that reason. But sometimes, like, Kaylee's birthday was on Sunday. To you guys, that was a while back.
Yeah.
So
things like that
are going to sound a little funky, but we're talking in real time. So it's harder to just jump ahead in our thoughts. We tried to do that in the beginning, and it got really confusing.
We're going to try to do it again come the holidays.
Right,
so we can make sure that if an episode goes live right around a holiday, that we're talking about the holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
We just won't be able to do a what I got my kids because we may not have shopped yet.
Yeah. So those might come later.
Yeah.
But we'll try to make them flow with the seasons as we approach them.
Yeah, we'll do the best that we can and just kind of go from there. But yeah, that was my fail, was not having that uploaded. I'm hoping over the next 2 weeks I can get caught up so that the episode that we're recording right now is already done before we record again.
Right.
It's kind of like the plan.
Yeah.
Although that may not necessarily be for this specific episode, but that'll be the plan.
Yeah.
Is to just be however many weeks ahead of recording we are. We're that far ahead in editing too.
Exactly.
Right now, we're not. We'll
now it seems like Sunday night is my editing for Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I'd like to change that.
Oh, same.
I just need to light a fire under my ass.
I know.
Do it.
Yeah, Thomas works tomorrow, and I tend to do so much better when he's not home.
Same. Why is that?
I have no idea.
I will slow down on all the household everything when Michael's home. Michael leaves, and I'm like, I can do all the things.
Same.
It's so annoying.
So tomorrow it's going to be like, I'm going to just bust butt and try to edit 1 or 2. And then the next day, do the same thing, 1 or 2.
Exactly.
And then I'll be done by the weekend as long as I actually do it.
Right. Yeah. And it's not that hard.
It's really not.
It's just time.
It's time.
Time and having to pay attention to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were editing a video for somebody else, it would be interesting because you're almost watching the video. But it's stuff we already talked about, and it's us.
Yeah.
So we're like...
Yes, you almost accidentally start tuning yourself out.
Yep.
Yep.
Becomes a problem.
It really does. As far as the win goes, my son's doing really, really good with potty training. Today he was in a pair of undies all day. So,
yay.
And only one minor accident. So
that is beautiful.
Yes, I'm so happy and I'm really excited.
Yes.
Because I know we were just talking about how I'm like, oh, he is nowhere near ready. And then we were just like, we're just going to start putting you on the toilet, see if that helps.
Yep.
And
beautiful.
He's been doing great. He doesn't let us know when he needs to yet. And I don't know how that's going to go because we've just had to like every 30 minutes have him sit on the toilet.
That was us.
Okay.
For Maverick. It was, do you need to go potty? And he would say no. And I'd be like, let's try.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to do now. And he has a really hard time understanding the desire. And I'll be like, all right, time to go. Like, let's go sit on the potty. He'll be like, no. I'll be like, no, we're going to go. Let's go, you and me. And he'll be like, oh, okay.
Yep.
We're pretty sure my son's autistic. So, like, kind of adds an extra dynamic there.
Right. Sometimes it would help, too, if I was like, Mommy has to go potty. Do you want to just go in there with Mommy?
See, that'd be nice.
And then once I sat down, he would be like, maybe I will, too.
Okay, well, that's what Anna did.
Yeah.
But he has no. He'll be like, no, don't want to. Damon's fine.
Good without that.
I'm like, okay, Damon.
He has his own mind.
He does. But he gets so excited when he goes potty. He goes, Mommy, me doing it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And he'll flap his hands and get all excited. It's so cute.
That's so cute.
And I'll be like, me sticker now? I'm like, yes, you can get a sticker now.
I'm so proud of him.
Oh, I'm so happy. I
was
was getting real worried there for a bit when he was just like, I don't want to.
No, I'm never doing that.
That's what it seemed like, is because he just didn't get it. Like, he would very occasionally, but now he's like actually excited to.
Yeah.
Now that he's finally grasped the sticker concept, and we've been really just doing it. And I think it was a good idea to start with the every 2 hours when we were changing them anyways, having him sit and starting to get the idea.
Since he was already used to doing something potty related at that time.
And then today when we just introduced the undies, calling it good, and he's doing such a good job.
I feel like the undies make them feel like, ooh, I'm cool.
He has a hard time pulling them up and down and stuff, though.
Maverick does too. Still.
Well,
sometimes we will just put him, if we're at home, I'll just put him in a pair of like sweatpants. Mm-hmm. I find he can take those up and down. Whoops. He can take those up and down. Oh my God. He can take those up and down a lot easier than the underwear.
That's awesome.
So,
do you have any changes in books yet? Because I do not.
No.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the actual topic now. Yes. Which, as a reminder, is what we guess or assume or whatever our life would have been like had we not met our significant other in high school.
Mm-hmm. I think it would have been pretty different.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because we met them in high school.
Yes.
Like, that's a young time. That's such a big transition.
It really is.
Your time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, like, so I have mentioned on here a couple of times that we just did my brother's orientation for college. And I was just telling Kaylee when I was there, I was kind of like, you know, okay, let me put myself in his shoes. I'm here at college orientation. And I was like, this would be kind of a cool experience to have, like living in a dorm. Because you and I both have not lived on our own.
Nope, never.
We went straight from parents to spouse.
Yep. Always been supported by somebody else.
Yeah. And so it's weird. And like, I was talking to Dylan about it and I was saying, like, I think if I was in this position, I would be scared.
Yeah.
Like, even the idea of now, we're nowhere near divorce, but even the idea now of like not living with somebody or living with a stranger, like a roommate situation, like that's scary to me.
It's terrifying.
So I'm trying to think, because obviously I've only ever been living with somebody. Mm-hmm.
Not even just somebody you are also very close with.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So would I have went to a college where I had to live in a dorm? Would I have moved out on my own? Would I have stayed home longer?
Because it's not that neither of us went to college. We just didn't ever go to like a dorm college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I probably would have stayed home longer.
Like lived at home longer?
Lived at home and through college lived at home.
Oh,
and
probably.
Then moved out. Mm-hmm. Would be my guess. I also know that my dad and I didn't have the greatest relationship when I lived under his roof. We were just both always heads. Yeah. So, and I always said like I wanted to move out because I was just tired of that dynamic. Mm-hmm. So now I'm trying to like, would I have just moved out because of that though?
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's an interesting thing too, because like when I think about it, I had plans to go to a college that was a dorm college. Mm-hmm. I was going to go to, what's it called? Is it Central Washington University? I think it is.
Okay.
It's the one that's like literally smack dab in the middle of Washington, so I'm going to guess it's Central.
That makes sense.
I could be wrong, though. It's the one in, I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Don't know.
You could say anything right now and I'll agree with you.
Probably. But I knew a couple people who had been there, and at that time I wanted to be a video editor, which ironically enough I now am.
Edits our videos.
But that's what I wanted to do. Mostly I wanted to be like editing movies and stuff. And they had a really good media program. Mm-hmm. And so that was what I was going to do. And they required at least their freshmen live on campus for that first year.
Yeah.
So that was my plan.
Right.
That's what I wanted to do starting like, it was right around middle school is when I started getting that idea. And that was like getting put into my head and I was starting to research those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But then when I met Thomas, things started to change. And then when I went to college, because I went to college during high school. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. It wasn't just taking college classes. I only attended college.
Right.
Which is, I know not everywhere has that, so that's a little bit confusing. I got an associate's degree at 17.
Yeah. Our high school had something similar too.
Mm-hmm. And when I started doing that, that's when I started getting really big into sign language and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's when I changed what I wanted to major in to become an interpreter.
Right.
And then so I ended up doing that instead, which was an online school, which sounds weird, but it is.
Right.
It was. I ended up not even finishing that.
Yeah.
Got really close. Really, really close. But life circumstances made it to where I literally couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I had looked into Western Oregon University. Is that what it's called? Western University?
See, neither of us can know our colleges.
We didn't go
See?
to those ones.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to be a nurse, and they had a good nursing program. And I got into the college. I applied, got into the college. And then I honestly don't know what in my mind, like I'm trying to think back what in my mind was like, nope, not going to do that. But I decided against it. And my high school program, you could either do it in school, your junior, senior year, or you could do it after high school. It was just 2 years, no matter how you did it. You could have done it 1 year, senior year, 1 year after you graduated. Didn't matter. So I decided to do that. Did that for probably, I think I did it 1 year. And there were so many parameters. You had to take a certain amount of credits. You had to show up, like your attendance had to be so good. Well, my attendance was not that great. And so I got a couple warnings of like, you're not going to be able to do this program anymore. You're going to be able to do this program anymore. And then finally I was like, I don't want to follow your rules. So I'm just not going to do this program anymore. So I took myself out of it. And then I still did a couple classes at the college. It just wasn't as many credits as the previous course was trying to get me to take. And I had to work full time because I lived with somebody that I had to put up my 50% of everything, you know? So I had to work full time, and I didn't want to do college full time. I just wasn't feeling it. I was very much in the mindset of a senior in high school who was like, I'm done. I'm going to be done.
Yeah.
So, and then I got my LPN license later on. But so I think I would have still become a nurse. I just probably would have went to a 4-year college.
Yeah, probably.
And had a lot more debt than I already have.
Yeah. See, as far as like college goes, I was already going to do, like I was already going to do Running Start. That had been my plan since I joined high school, which was before I met my husband. And I knew I wanted to do ASL because that already interested me.
Right.
And so I think I still would have gone down the path of wanting to become an interpreter because that was completely independent of him.
Yeah.
He did encourage me to go down that route when I started to express it. Whereas my mom, she wasn't not supportive of it. She just didn't want me to change my mind on I like this, instead of like being like, she didn't want it to just be something like I liked today and would never do.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And I mean, looking back on it now, I 100% see where she was talking about, especially because I am not an interpreter, but I am a video editor.
Right.
Which, ironically enough, so funny.
That is funny.
So had I not known him, I may have still gone all the way through my ASL courses, all the way through ASL 4 or whatever they offered. But I don't know. I might have gone to the 4-year college in Central Washington and done that and lived there.
Yeah.
Instead.
I think had I not got with Michael and stayed with Michael, I can almost guarantee you that I probably would have gotten into a serious relationship had the circumstances lined up pretty quickly after high school anyway, because I always knew that I wanted the like family life and I wanted it like now.
Yeah, I 100% can align with that. I think if I had decided to go with the interpreting, I would have actually finished becoming an interpreter because it was because I had Anna that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And she was a baby.
Right.
And so if I hadn't met Thomas, I don't think I would have become a mom so young.
Right.
Because I'd been with him for several years. I was already married to him when that happened.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been not so careful with a new person.
Right. Yeah. Fair.
So, same, I probably still would have been with somebody long term. It just maybe I wouldn't have had a child. And so I either would have went to the other college and become a media person, or I would have still become an interpreter, but I would have actually been able to finish.
Yeah. See, and sometimes I almost wish that I could just, I don't want to give up my life now at all. Like, I love my life. I love how it's going. And I don't regret anything.
Same.
But I wish that I could almost just like take some kind of time machine
and peek into another timeline almost.
Yeah, and just see what it would be like, feel what it would feel like.
I wonder the same thing.
Because those are the kinds of things that like, I don't feel like I necessarily missed out on, but I don't get those experiences and I will never have those experiences.
Yeah.
As far as like moving out young by yourself, going to college young by yourself, like obviously if God forbid anything happened, I could still experience living on my own and all that stuff. But I just mean like fresh out of high school. The world is your, what do they say? The world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Like go out and figure yourself out.
Become something.
And I figured myself out. But
live your 20s.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to and chose to figure out my life with a partner.
Yeah.
Which isn't always easy.
No.
And sometimes it's harder to find yourself when you're also a team with somebody else, you know?
Not to mention raising tiny people.
Yeah.
And trying to do all of that. You know, I will forever say that I am so grateful that I will be, if shit permits itself, done having kids by 30.
Right.
Every person in my home, other than obviously me and Thomas, should, in theory, be moved out by the time I am 50. A lot of adults are still raising their children at 50 because if they don't have a kid, you know, until into their 30s and that's like their first kid,
right?
You know, then they're raising their kids into their 50s and so on and so forth, like your dad.
Yeah.
And how old your mom? I don't know how old your mom is, but I know how old Eric is.
7 or 48.
So she's getting there, and she'll be 50 before. What fucking grade is Brady in?
Brady is going into his sophomore year. So 3 more years. So she'll be like 51 when he's 18. If my math's correct.
I think so. Give or take.
She had me at 21. And then she had...
Yeah.
Well, I was 8. So she had Dylan at 29. And then Brady again at 31? 32? Somewhere in there.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm done having kids by 30, by the time I'm 50, my youngest will be 20. And so most likely I will have probably been a couple of years as an empty nester at that point. And then I can live out the rest of my life just being...
Right. I always wanted to be a younger mom for that, not necessarily for that reason, but I wanted to be able to enjoy my kids for as long as I could.
Same.
Whereas if you have them in your 30s, 40s, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that
at all.
No.
Just for me personally, like, I get a lot of anxiety around like, missing out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to have them now because, you know, I need all this time with them as long as I can get, kind of a thing.
I think it's hard too because you and I both have grandparents who didn't meet their grandkids. Or great-grandkids, technically. Their great-grandkids.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, like, I'm thinking, like, my grandma was really not that old. I wasn't that old when she died. She very easily, if she hadn't, you know, gotten cancer, could have easily lived until Anna was an adult.
Right.
You know, if she had lived into her 80s, Anna would have been 20.
Right.
And potentially having her own kids.
Yeah.
You know, if she was a young mom like I was. I wasn't like, I was a teen mom, but like not a teen mom. I was 19.
Yeah.
Barely.
You were on the end.
Yeah. You know, but she could have, you know, lived through all of that. And so like thinking about it, I'm like, I want to be able to meet my great grandkids someday.
Right.
You know, I don't want to die when my grandkids are still kids. Yeah. I would rather be old and I got my time with them. They got their time with me, and I can die and be satisfied with my life, and everybody can be like, well, it's sad that she died, but
think about how long we had her.
Yeah, we had her for so long.
Right.
You know? Right. And so, like, I always wanted to be able to live as much of my life as I could. I want to be able to see my kids become become grandparents.
Right.
You know, I want to see them get married and have their own kids and their kids become adults. I want to be able to go to my, you know, grandkids' graduation and stuff. I want to be able to have all of those things before I start forgetting their names.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's a scary thing.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely about where your priority is with how you want to live your life.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that's a very hard thing to figure out when you're young. I think you and I are just both very headstrong, very stubborn people who know what we want and we go for it. And I know not everybody is like that.
Yeah.
But I think that helped because we knew very early on what we wanted in life, and we attained that.
And life was just like,
a
okay,
family.
fine.
Yeah, sure.
Take the man.
Do it.
Have the kids.
You stubborn fool. And is there a part of me that's like, I see what people mean now when they're like, just live. Like, don't settle down. Just live.
Yeah,
live your 20s. Do the thing. Figure out yourself. Make tons of mistakes. I understand that now.
Yes.
1,000,000%. Do I regret what I did? No. But I understand it now because a lot of mistakes have been made in my 20s. Michael and I both have made mistakes in our 20s. And that is more challenging when now you have kids. Because now
so much more.
It's almost like you can't make a mistake. You can, but you can't, you know? Like they rely on you. So it's harder to make just whatever mistakes.
Yeah.
You know? So is there a part of me that's like, what would that life have been like? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And like, even if we had been with our husbands, but maybe just didn't have kids yet, because some people will get with their husbands really, really young, or wives, or whatever you have.
Right.
It's just husbands in our case, so that's the terminology I'm going to use. You know, been with our husbands, but not had kids until we were like, let's wait until we're like late 20s, early 30s. You know, and having kids. Our 20s could have been so different. You know, maybe we would have been partiers. Probably not, because I'm not that kind of person.
Right, yeah.
But maybe we would have gone and traveled the world together. Maybe not, because we're poor.
And the economy sucks.
The economy sucks. Yes.
No, but I totally get what you mean. Because, I mean, Michael and I were together for 7 years before we got married, and 9 before we had a kid.
When did you guys get married?
2018. We didn't have him till 2020.
So then, yeah. I mean, you got pregnant roughly a year later.
Yeah.
Roughly. And then had him.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, I mean, we did get to experience each other for a long time before kids. But at the same time, 4 of those years were in high school.
Yeah.
There was only that small few years of us being on our own, figuring each other out before we had kids. So I think of it in like, well, what if we would have waited, you know, another 7 years?
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't, but what if?
The part that I almost, and me and Thomas talk about this. So me saying this is not me talking shit about my husband behind his back. We talk about this. If we hadn't gotten married when we did, I can almost guarantee we would not have ever gotten married, and we would have split up.
Oh.
I hate his mother. She
True.
tried so hard to ruin our relationship. If we hadn't just decided to elope, I think she would have been able to get in between.
I could see that.
And because at the point that we had gotten married, she still, like, my husband kind of had that unhealthy attachment to his mom. This is something he acknowledges fully. We talk about. It's something, I mean, I kind of based this off of that a little bit. So, I mean, it's definitely not anything
based off of.
Yeah, and he helped me write it. He helped me with the dynamic between Kate and Danny. Like, that's a lot of what that dynamic is based off of, is his relationship with his mom. So, it's not secret. And like he was kind of like her savior in a sense, is what she kind of viewed him as, and put him on this like pedestal of, you can do no wrong, but only if you follow my guidelines. Right. And, you know, me and her were starting to butt heads really bad. And so I think if we hadn't moved out and gotten married, because we lived with her for a short time, if we hadn't moved out of there and gotten married very quickly after that, I think I would have been fed up and I would have gone home.
I could see that.
Because it was really only when I was like, I am your wife now. You need to prioritize me and my needs over your mother's desires. Yeah. That he finally was just like, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. And she fought that so hard. But I don't know. If we hadn't gotten married, would we have worked? Because, you know, I feel like he really only started prioritizing the marriage because I started kind of breaking open that shell that she had put around him. I was like, you need to look at the bigger picture. Right. You know, because she kind of taught him well, your mom comes first, and then it's God, and then it's your wife, and then it's your kids. Right. Whereas, you know, I've followed the more like, your spouse is first. You know, when you create a family, that is your number one priority.
Yeah.
And she really struggled to allow that and just didn't allow that.
I didn't have that kind of dynamic with a mother-in-law. But I do think that us getting married saved our relationship.
See, that's what I'm thinking about me and my husband.
Because we were young. Mm-hmm. We made lots of mistakes. We, would butt heads on things. And I think getting married, as much as people say, it's just a piece of paper, to us, it was like a restart, a reboot of, it just changed our whole dynamic of like, forgive for past mistakes. We're together. Let's make this work 100%.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't even begin to imagine what life would have been like if me and Thomas hadn't gotten married, but still got pregnant.
True.
I would be a single mother.
Yeah. That's weird to think about.
It really is, because it's not that my husband isn't a strong person.
Mm-hmm.
He is now.
Right.
But when you are being manipulated and gaslit by somebody literally your entire life.
And your mother.
And it's your mother.
People. Yeah.
Yes. And when you don't have a father figure, because he really didn't, it's hard to realize that the situation you're in is so toxic, especially because it was his whole family, aside from a few small people who didn't do that.
Right.
But like when that is what you're used to, you don't notice.
Right.
It's like the lobster, or not lobsters. What is it? You put it in frogs. It's frogs. You put them in a pot of water and slowly turn the heat up. They don't realize they're boiling until they're dying.
Right.
It's the same concept.
So brutal.
It really is. But then when you finally get to like scoop them out, be like, are you an idiot?
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, whoa, that was more.
Mm-hmm. And then they go to touch it again and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
You're right. Because that's exactly what it was like for him. As soon as like he kind of, we took a step back from it and he pulled himself away. When he dipped back in to try to rekindle their relationship to see if whatever, and he saw the toxic, he was like, yep, that's boiling hot.
Mm-hmm.
I see that now. He didn't see it before.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's those tiny little, you don't think it's a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is. Like getting married is a huge decision.
Choosing your life partner is a big decision.
It so is.
We chose it when I was 15.
Yeah.
14 going 15.
Yeah, I was 15 when I met him.
Did I know that he was going to be my life partner? No. I didn't even really know it once we got out of high school.
I think once I got out of high school, I was like, we're going to get married.
When I moved in with him, that's when it was, which was shortly after high school, but that's when I was kind of like, this is probably going somewhere.
I was low-key, high-key sort of living with him.
Yeah.
While I was still in high school, technically college, senior year, that, because I was staying the night with him many nights out of the week, and so both.
Right, yeah.
Living at home officially, but
right.
Unofficially, I helped him pay his bills and stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's weird to think about. And
it is very weird to think about.
Technically, he's never technically he's lived alone.
Mm-hmm. Same with Michael,
but
for a few months.
But it also wasn't, because I was always there.
Mm-hmm.
If he was there, I was there. Pretty much. It was or even he wouldn't be there because he'd be at my house. So he was, but he's never lived in a place on his own where there wasn't something of mine. Mm-hmm. Because I kept shit there. Mm-hmm. I had a toothbrush there. I basically lived there.
Yeah.
So it's weird to think about not only what we what would we be like, but also what would they be like?
Right.
Or if something didn't happen that made it to where they just ended up not being in our lives. Not even that we necessarily made different choices, but that something happened that took them out. We were just talking about time travel and stuff, and how you can go back and change one little detail and then it just fucks with everything.
Butterfly effect or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just how different things would have been if one decision wasn't made.
Right. It's definitely, and now it's hard because now we have kids. So now it's almost you almost can't put yourself in those shoes, because you're then my kids wouldn't be here. And that's just not okay.
Yeah, same. It's there is not an ounce of me that has any amount of regret.
Right. Yeah. Same.
But there's that wonder.
It's the curiosity of what could have been.
Because imagine if you could just unzip a ripple in time and take a peek into your life in another dimension. Mm-hmm. Would I own a house right now?
Right.
Would I have, a husband? Would I have a wife? You know,
Yeah.
how different is my life going to
yeah.
be? Do I have completely different children? What do I have?
Right. It's weird.
It really is. Like when on my birthday dinner, me and my mom were talking about if she had stayed with the person that she was with very shortly before she got with my dad.
Okay.
And she's like, well, if we had just decided to stay together and get married when we had originally talked about it, I probably would have had kids younger. And I was like, that's interesting, because that means that, let's say chances are that she ended up getting pregnant with me at the time that real me got, she got pregnant with real me. So just different sperm, same egg.
Right.
So me, but not me,
yeah.
How different would I be? And I also wouldn't be the oldest. I would be a middle child.
Yeah.
But not me, but me. I'd be
Right.
half still me.
Yeah.
Right? That's a weird concept to think about.
That's weird.
And like,
yeah,
at that point, your mom and my mom still would have been friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I still would have known you.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have been not me.
Right.
But me. I would have been a completely different
You would have
person.
had an older sibling, most likely.
Yeah, most likely I would have had an older sibling.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Which could
That could impact personality.
everything. Yeah, I was gonna say that's everything.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
then
now you're the middle child.
Exactly. And I think she said that we would have ended up living in like Colorado or something, because that's where he wanted to go. He wanted to be home with family. So
we may not have
the relationship that we have now,
dynamic.
It might have been like when I became an adult and decided to go to some college in Colorado. What if I did eventually decide to move to Lebanon? Would you and I have been like meeting for the first time?
Right. Or would it have been that like...
Or not for the first time, I guess.
When you meet your like fourth cousin twice removed.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey,
Nice
guess
to meet
we're
ya.
related.
Yeah. Would it have been like that?
Weird.
Would we have had maybe like a little bit better of a relationship? Because maybe my mom would have flown home for like some holidays, so you guys would have got to know each other a little bit, but more like...
That is interesting to think about.
Almost more of the relationship that I have with Jude. He's like a cousin and, whatever, but we're not all that close.
Yeah.
Definitely not a you and me dynamic.
Right, no.
We're like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. I know you. You know me. But I don't know, like, your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you still with that girl? Oh, nope. That ended 3 years ago? I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that that's relevant, but I was just making a joke.
Yeah.
But, like, I really do wonder how different things would have been if just some small changes had happened.
Right.
Because I probably never would have met Thomas if my mom had me with a different person.
Yeah.
Or even if she just hadn't gotten married the first time.
Yeah. It's weird to think about, like, the personality side of it. Like, who would we have been personality-wise had we, had that situation happen, or had we not met our people? Mm-hmm. Like, Michael in some way has affected my personality.
Oh, yeah.
As I have impacted his. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. We've been together for 12 years, I think. Yes. There's no doubt in my mind that we have somehow impacted each other's personalities.
Oh, 100%.
And then I always think about, like,
who would you have been?
Who would I have been? And also, now me as a, however old I am, how old am I? 26?
I'm 25 now, so.
27?
What do we got?
I was born in 96. 27. I could never remember my own age. After 18, I was like, I don't give a fuck.
It's okay. I only know because I just had a birthday.
27. Me as a 27-year-old single woman.
Right?
How does that happen? How do you do single people? Like, I don't even know what that means.
I don't know either. I hear people talking about it like, oh yeah, I'm single, and I'm like, how?
Like, I hear people talking about dating apps like it's like Facebook, and I'm like, yeah, what is that? How does that
I was
app
scrolling
work?
on Tinder yesterday and just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, is that like is it like Instagram? I know what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean.
If I were to download that app right now, it would be like a whole brand new ass app, like a brand new game app that just came out. That I'm just like, gotta figure this one out. Like, I would be like, a boomer trying to figure out their iPhone. Yeah. It's so weird. And single us when we were in high school.
It's so different.
So different.
Because
different. I mean, for one, we were in high school, but if you think about like a 27-year-old in that time frame in 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm. I met my husband in 2013. 2013. So
And I met
end of
Michael in
2013.
2011. So 2011, 2013 dating scene.
Early 2010s.
Way different than what it is now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to navigate that world. Of course, I would probably just figure it out. And had I not met Michael, I would have been figuring it out this whole time. I would have moved with the times.
Yeah.
But
I mean, maybe you'd be married to somebody else.
Right. I don't know. It's just, it's a fascinating topic. And
it really is.
We aren't coming at this as like, we regret anything.
Oh,
We've said
no.
that multiple times. We don't regret anything, but it is something that I'm sure everybody, at least it crosses your mind. And it's fascinating to talk about.
You know what's interesting to me? You know the concept of, because we keep saying this over and over again, we wonder what we would have been like if such and such had or hadn't happened, right? Let's pretend that there is multiple timelines where like there's alternate realities, alternate things could have happened, right? Infinitely.
The multiverse.
The multiverse. There's a version of us somewhere that's wondering what our lives would have been like. Or
if
what
we got with our high school sweetheart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What if I had stayed with Thomas? What if I hadn't left him at the altar?
Right. That's weird too.
And then there's this version of me that's like, what if I had?
Right. Oh, if we could only just meet up like in Spider-Man and just talk about.
Oh, I know. Because like, what if there's a universe, which I mean, if it's infinite, then there would have to be, right? What if there's a version of you and me that the only thing that's different is neither one of us stayed with our high school sweethearts and we're still sitting here right now in probably obviously a different house.
Yeah.
Having a podcast.
Yeah.
But we don't have the kids that we have nor the husband that we have, and we're just like having this conversation, but we both ended up in this situation for different reasons. And we're having the conversation and we're sitting here talking about it. It's such a weird concept.
I wish we could one day. Maybe I don't, because I feel like that could lead to a disaster. But I wish that one day they would come up with the technology so you could just like
take a peek. That'd be so interesting. This stuff is like all in my head right now because we watched the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds yesterday. It is good. It is so good.
What is that about?
Basically this time travel pilot goes back in time to essentially he meets his wife in like this time travel program. She goes back in time for a reason he's not really fully aware of, and he goes back in time to try to get her back because she never returns, and he has some speculation, and he ends up meeting up with 12-year-old version of himself, and then going and meeting up with his dead dad and destroying time travel. It's really good.
For the best, honestly.
Yeah. And so it's been like, and we watched that literally last night right before going to bed.
Yeah.
So it's been on like the forefront of my mind.
So this is a good topic for today.
This is such a good topic for today.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of it, like in a sci-fi type.
Yeah.
Contemplating it. Personally, I don't think time travel exists.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever will. Or if it has, it's been destroyed so many times over that it's essentially canceled itself out in a loop.
Fair.
Because there's going to be, at some point, somebody would go back in time, change something. It would fuck up something else. Somebody would go back, destroy time travel, and then it will have never happened, but also happened. Because lifetime's on a loop.
Yeah.
And infinitely happening all at the same time.
Right.
The beginning of time is happening right now, and also the end of time is happening right now.
Which really throws me.
It does me too, but it's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it's so much bigger than my brain is capable of comprehending.
Yeah, literally, I'm trying to think it out right now, and it's impossible.
And it's like the idea of like, well, if it would have had to have happened the first time. And I think Interstellar. Have you seen that movie with Matthew McConaughey?
Mm-mm.
They do a really
Sounds
good
familiar.
job of explaining it.
I think I was going to watch it, but I don't think I've seen it.
So that would be like, let's say right now this book just fell off. And we were like, oh, that was weird. Put it back. Whatever. Move on. 20 years from now, I come back in time travel and I'm trying to get my past self attention, but I'm like stuck in a weird dimension where I'm like in between the walls. I push this book to try to get my attention. It happened the first time, but I don't know why. And so I'm sitting here in between the walls wondering, I need to get your attention. And then I get irritated and I push the book and I'm like, oh, I remember that.
Oh.
Do you understand? It's a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's Interstellar talks about that and has that dynamic where things happen the first time. Harry Potter has the same thing. I don't remember which version. It's the one where they have the time turner.
Oh, we just watched that one literally this morning.
Okay, so then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me give you the idea. Remember, he's laying there with his godfather? What's his name? Sirius Black. And he's like
Waiting for his dad to show up.
He's waiting for his dad to show up Because he's like, no, there was Patronus. It came.
Yes.
And then he's like, God dang it, and goes and just does it himself.
Yes.
It's because he did it himself the first time.
Right.
And so even the first time, it was still him. Because
Right.
time is happening all at once.
Right.
And so the future is happening.
Right.
And that's why the idea of like going back and changing time isn't real, because it still would have happened the changed way the first time.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change something, because then it just wouldn't have happened the first time.
Right.
And that's why I think that time travel either doesn't exist or
Yeah.
it keeps canceling itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we don't know,
Right.
because it still would have happened the first time.
True.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is so wrapped around it now, but it's still like...
You get what I mean, though?
Yes, I totally 100% get what you mean.
Yeah.
Weird.
It doesn't mean that,
So
like...
then, I used to always say, like, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So then, by that logic, everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, maybe somebody is continuing, like, just over and over and over again, going back in time and doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just cancels itself out.
Yeah.
It just stays the same.
Yeah.
Nobody really notices, because it still would have happened the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is technically no first time in a infinite. Time is always happening at the same time.
Right. So everything that happens is already destined to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's already happened.
Including the change.
Right.
And that's why nobody could go
so
back
weird.
and kill Adolf Hitler. Because if they went back and killed Adolf Hitler, let's say that was the reason
Mm-hmm.
that they went back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would have no reason to go back in time. Because if
Right,
they go back
because
in
it would
time,
have already happened.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
then the child version of themselves never would grow up to go back in time to kill
Right.
Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Weird.
Because then they would have changed their own outcome.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, is it either can't have happened or it just infinitely cancels itself out.
Yeah. I feel like the only person that would be made aware of it happening would be the person who went back that first time and had the realization of, oh, that happened, but then it would be gone once they...
Yeah, but the second they kill Adolf Hitler,
Yeah.
they get jumped back to
That's
their
what I
actual
mean.
time, and then they never even know that they did it.
Yeah.
Because younger self never would have done
did
it.
that. Exactly. So you know it for that split jump back, or that, I guess, jump forward you would know too.
Well, no, because then as soon as you get to the forward, then you're in real time. But in real time, you never would have done it, because younger you would have never had the reason, because Adolf Hitler never would have happened. Do you see how it cancels itself out?
Yeah. So you would only know the moment you jumped back that you time traveled.
Mhm. Only during the time travel.
Right.
As soon as you got back,
It would be gone.
it would cancel itself out.
Yeah.
And Adolf Hitler just simultaneously would have and also wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
All at the same time. And this is obviously just an
Yeah.
example.
Huh.
And we definitely went off on a tangent a little bit on that.
That's okay.
But
Is time travel a thing?
and would you do it?
Hmm.
That's like another question.
The
Would you have done it?
The only reason I would ever time travel into the past is just to relive certain moments again and watch them again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back to change anything.
No. The only thing I think I would do, and me and Thomas talked about this last night, is I might go back a couple of months before my grandma started really deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like, because she would recognize me, because I would only be a couple years older, right? And I would bring all my kids with me, and I'd say, hey, and I would sit her down and be like, look, you already know you have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know your time is coming. I'm from the future. You're not going to be able to meet your grandkids.
Yeah.
You're going to try. But so I decided to bring them here for you
Yeah.
so that you could. And
That
then I'm
would be
going to go
cool.
home, and I want to give you one more hug.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't really have changed anything.
No.
And that can happen on an infinite loop and really not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's the changing major events
Right.
that would cancel itself out. Something that small wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know. And so something like that. You know.
See, and I wonder too if dreams play into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain dreams of like, was that some kind of multi-dimensional thing?
Oh, did I ever tell you about the time where, like, it was the most surreal. It was very shortly after I had Anna, like within a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream that it was when I was still living in Montana. I had a dream. I like went to sleep, whatever, normal sleep. And I woke up and I was sitting in the back seat of my car, my Taurus.
Oh, yes.
Sitting in the back seat of my Taurus. And I was like, it felt so real. I was like looking around and I was like, how the hell did I get in my car?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, like, my grandma just kind of materialized in the front passenger seat. So I was behind passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
She materialized and turned around and she's like, hey, honey. I was like, Grandma? It's like, I thought. And she's like, I know, honey. She's like, I promise I'm okay now.
Aww.
And I was like, I miss you so much. And this was after she had died.
Right.
She died a week before my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And so this was like maybe a week or two after that, after I had my daughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know you're scared. She's like, she's beautiful.
Aww.
And you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, Grandma, please don't go. And she's like, I do have to go now. I
You're
just wanted to talk to you.
You're
I know.
You're going to get me, so better stop it.
And then she reached behind, grabbed my hand, and then she just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was I've never had a dream feel so real.
Yeah.
And it felt different. It didn't feel like a dream, but it also didn't feel real.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Not tangible.
Yeah.
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 I had a similar dream after my great grandpa died.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after my great grandma had already passed. She was gone for like 5 or 6 months before he passed. And it was like a night or two after he passed away. And I had a dream that I like walked onto this park. And it again, it felt very strange. And they both like came up to me and gave me a big hug. And they were like, it's going to be okay. We're together now. It's fine. Yeah. Why are you getting me emotional?
I'm sorry. I really hope that we have the ability to, because I'm not religious, but I do believe on some level that those that pass on are with us in some regard.
Yeah, I agree.
There have been just too many weird experiences with me and dragonflies since my grandma died.
That's very true.
So much so that, like, when a dragonfly will not leave you alone and just insists on being on your finger, being right next to you, and like, literally, like, I can see my grandma's house from where I was standing, and I'm like, you gotta go now, you know, I love you and I miss you, and then it flies away.
Right.
Or like when I'm in labor with my son, and I think it was a couple of dragonflies literally flew around my midwives as they were like in circles as they were leaving after I had my son. Like, come on.
Right.
That's weird.
Right. Not everybody has that.
Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it can't be a coincidence.
Right. Of course.
Like, because it 100% can just be coincidences, and maybe I'm only seeing it as a sign because I want it to be.
Right. But I think even then, it's a sense of comfort. And what is it hurting?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if we can have some access to, those that do pass on, it's kind of nice to think that, maybe she really did come and visit me.
Right.
That night in my dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sweet to think about.
It is.
And if I could, I would go back and give her one more hug.
Yeah. There's lots of people I would go back and give hugs to. I guess I just would never go back to change anything major.
So I guess this podcast episode kind of
ended up different.
Less about if we hadn't met our husbands and more about just if things had been different, which is actually what we titled it when we...
Oh, true. See?
So things happen for a reason. I didn't know what to title it when I put it in, just like to quick make a file for it, and I put if things have been different. I was like, we'll put a title to it later, and then it ended, and they were like, coming in here, we're like, today we're gonna talk about if we hadn't met our husbands. I was like, nope, that's not all we talked about.
Or just what could have been.
What could have been. Yeah. Just in general, what could have been. If you could, let's do kind of like one final question on this. Okay. If you could have chosen to have had kids sooner or later, would you have?
Guaranteeing I get the same kids?
No.
That would happen at the same time. Because I want my kids. But let's say that, I don't know what they are currently, what they would have been earlier.
I think this is a way easier question if you've never had kids.
Right. Let's take that factor out.
Let's say it's possible that you could have had the same kids, but you can't guarantee it. Like, would you still choose to have them at the same time to guarantee it? Or would you take the risk of not having them? And let's say it's like a 50-50 chance. that you still would have ended up with the same kids?
Honestly, I probably would have them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Even knowing how I've talked about it on here, how we struggled to get pregnant with Maverick, even knowing that I would still have to go through that struggle, I would still probably have them at the same time, because I think that struggle helped me in a lot of ways and become the person that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
If I can guarantee that they are the exact same kids,
Mm-hmm. Which is
honestly,
the hard part.
I would probably have them now.
Oh, you would wait.
I would wait a little bit.
Oh.
Just a little bit. Because
as in being pregnant with Maverick now, or
Yes.
having recently had him?
No,
and now
being
you're
pregnant with him now.
Okay.
Just
so not
because
yet having Quincy. Okay.
when I finally got past the grieving of the miscarriage and getting through that depression and stuff, Michael and I's relationship started to blossom again.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that it like cut off, because I think it grew with having kids, but we had just started to like find ourselves again.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like a little bit more time after that grieving process to just have him.
Okay. I'm actually surprised you didn't say that you would have preferred to have them like got pregnant instead of having that miscarriage,
Mm-hmm.
having that be as successful and being Maverick.
Well, I mean,
I'm just surprised that that's not what you said, because that's what I was anticipating.
Yeah, I would have loved for that baby to just been a baby, but knowing what I know now and being the person that I am now, it's weird to say that I'm like grateful for it, because I'm not grateful for it.
I know,
but
exactly
I'm like,
what you mean.
It helped me shape me into who I am.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like self-finding, self-processing happened during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, it's weird for me to say that I'm grateful that I had a miscarriage, but if I hadn't,
You
I wouldn't have Ellie.
Right.
Oops. Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't have Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who I would have had, but it wouldn't have been Ellie.
Right.
And Ellie is just, I'll have to tell you how she's been lately. It's been the cutest thing. She says mom and dad now.
No.
And she'll yell it. And it's adorable.
She does with mama now.
She literally goes, Dad! And runs at you with her arms wide open and then gives you a hug. Or she'll say, Mom!
Oh, that's so cute.
It's not mama. It's not dada. It's just Dad! Mom!
Quincy does both. She does mom and dad and dad.
Why is dad always aggressive? Dad!
What about for you? Would you have had them younger?
I think any younger that would have been questionable.
Right.
Probably not younger. I was already pretty young. I was 19.
Would you have waited?
I don't know.
See, it's hard when it's put on you.
Yes, it is. Oh, I knew 100% that I was gonna
guaranteeing that you still get Anna, Damon, and Ellie. Would you have waited?
I think knowing what I know now, probably.
Yeah.
Because I was so young, and me and Thomas's relationship at the time, we were still working shit out with his mom. Right. Granted, I don't know if things would have happened the same way with his mom if we hadn't gotten pregnant when we did, because that was when things went downhill.
Right.
Was when we got pregnant.
And that's when a lot of realizations, I think, for Thomas happened, was because of Anna being there.
Because we were guarding ourselves and guarding her. We didn't want, his mom to just be throwing her, 6-month new relationship at us and trying to get this person that we don't even know to meet our kids and, invading our space and stuff.
Right.
And because she just made decisions like that all the time.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't had Anna, I don't know if we would have had Anna at the time. I think we would have had a lot more manipulation from his mom. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that would have actually caused a rift in our relationship.
Yeah.
And if that would have ended up being the end of it, because she would have just kept making decisions for us. Whereas things happened so quickly. We got married. We had Anna. We moved.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She had barely any time to really keep holding on to him.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if we hadn't had Anna, we probably also wouldn't have moved.
Right.
We wouldn't have moved out of Montana and, to Spokane, because we were trying to have Anna be close to both of her grandparents. Granted, she wasn't close to either, technically.
But there was some middle ground.
It was a middle ground.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. Probably would have stayed there. I would have just sucked it up.
Right.
Or
parted.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I would, because, if I can only go based off of what I know now, not knowing what the alternative would turn out to be like, I think no, I would keep them the same because I'm happy with my relationship. I'm happy. Thomas is happy that, you know, we don't have her in our lives. She's not dictating everything that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say that I'm kind of basing it off of his mom because she does still have, you know, as much as I want to say like, oh, I don't give a shit about her anymore, she clearly still has some control over our lives. Right. And, you know, she is a big deciding factor on a lot of different things. Right. Because we have to take her into account. Like, oh, well, great. Is she going to come knock on our door? Yeah. You know, is she, you know, when we went to go visit his sister, I actually had to unblock his mother and send her a message and say, please do not show up while we're there. Thomas does not want to see you. Jeez. She thankfully was like, okay. And she didn't show up. So, I mean, I guess kudos. Growth? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. Growth? Maybe. I mean, you're like 45 now. So, I mean, are you growing? She did have some pictures of us on the wall, which was really weird that she stole off my Instagram somehow. Somebody did. It was really creepy. It was like when it was like literally first walked in, and we were only there for a short time to visit his little sister, and she was at work. We walked in, and there was pictures, like 7 or 8 of us. One not from the Christmas that I was pregnant with Ellie. Oh. That we announced her birth, or that we announced me being pregnant with her. That picture with like me holding Damon and we're all smiling and it was like, oh, we're holding our mini-me's. That picture when we're like in our matching jammies in front of the tree. That picture was on her wall right when you first walk in. It was the first thing I saw when I walked in. Was weird. That collage of photos that she took off of my Instagram. That's weird. It was very weird.
That would weird me out if I never sent you those pictures and you just had them and you didn't say anything about like, hey, I'm printing these off.
And Bella told me, but I never saw them. Because she never, like, took a picture of the collage. She was like, hey, my mom has these on your wall. I'm like, that's weird. And then she went through the people that I was friends with. And she's like, I bet you it's one of these people. So I just blocked those family members. Yeah. Because it was probably one of Thomas's cousins that was giving them to her for whatever reason.
That's weird.
Yeah. Huh. So, yeah.
Stranger things.
Yeah. So I don't like to say that she dictates my life. Yeah. But, I mean, I know that you kind of feel the same way about certain family members, too. You, like, will make certain choices in order to avoid certain people. Yeah. It just is what it is.
Yeah. I think that's just anybody in general, even that's in your life. Sometimes if you want to avoid conflict or you want to avoid whatever, you make those changes.
You do. And so, yeah. I don't know if I would have had kids at different times because I don't know how that would have affected. Right. My relationship with her, because I don't think my relationship in any way would have been positive with her, regardless of whatever. I was always a threat. Yeah. Toxic mother-in-laws. Da, 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 da.
Well, I'm happy where we're both at. I'm happy we met our spouses when we were in high school. I'm happy that we have the babies that we have.
Me too.
And yeah, this was kind of a different episode than what we're usually thrown out there.
And a little different than what we had originally planned coming into it.
Yeah. But we hope you guys enjoyed it. And we hope you like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what maybe would have been different in your life.
Yeah. And we will see you guys